So, everybody knows what a director does. Everybody knows what a script writer does. I mean, we don't have to talk about actors and actresses. Everyone knows what they do, right? Even the guy that brings them water and food, right? We also know what they do. But honestly, when you say producer, actually, what does a producer do? So guys, welcome to this episode of Find the Real, where I believe everyone has a story. It doesn't matter if you're a policeman, a nurse, or a teacher. Every single one of you have a story, and my job is to find those interesting stories for you. And today, we have Aminda Faradilla. I have to make sure the full name, Aminda Faradilla, who has produced multiple documentaries, right, for broadcasting channels like Al Jazeera, Channel News Asia, right? So, I mean, you can watch her stuff on like Netflix and YouTube and all this, right? But before that, Fara, producer. Before we go into a producer, let's talk a little bit about who is Aminda Faradilla. Give me a little bit of your background, lady.
So you want to start at what year? When we first met? That was 1987. The morning of February 17th, about there. When I first met Amil, I mean, it was just such a memorable moment, except that I don't remember anything from that time, being just born. So Amil and I are siblings.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was born in this family, and I was born, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you see it, I was born as the middle child. Now, there's 4 of us, right? And Amil and I kind of are in the middle, except that Amil's the only boy. So when you grow up and you're the middle child, and it sort of feels a lot like being a producer. I feel like my entire life I was set up to be in the position where you are kind of needed, but nobody really cares. Or, I mean, you're kind of taken for granted. My family will say that I'm deluded, and that's not the case, but that's how you feel. Because think about it, right? If you're a middle child, you cannot have the oldest or the youngest. See? You know what I mean? So the middle child gives you your status, gives you that special distinction.
Oh my God, epiphany!
That's how I had to deal with when I deal with my depression. That was what I told myself basically. Depression is nothing to laugh about, but you know. But yeah, that's how we grew up. I grew up kind of happy. I was known as the emo child. There was a song that was written, and I think Amel really wants to present or perform this song, and just to relive my trauma. Why don't you go ahead, man?
All right, it's the key of G sharp minor. It goes something like this. Sensitive. Yeah, she's a little bit sensitive.
I just want to say that I think in 2023 you can't do this kind of thing. But back then, as a 7-year-old girl crying because nobody loves her, apparently that was humorous to most. But I think that really helped build my character.
Actually, right, I think the cat loved you quite a lot, you know?
Yeah, the ones that ran away.
The ones that died, all 13 of them.
Yeah. No, but I think we had a relatively good childhood, I think. I mean, you know, there are some things, every family goes through their ups and downs, and I think for the most part, it helped me. I mean, it made us who we are.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's quite funny, right? Like, all of us have really diverse careers to an extent. But I think creatively, as a family, all 4 of us decided to do something a little bit creative with our lives. Like our oldest sister, other than planting trees, she used to be in the first all-girl independent English band, right? I play for this little band called Pop Shabit. I mean Dragon Red, I
know Pop Shabit really well, but Dragon Red not so much.
That doesn't ring a bell?
Doesn't ring a bell at all.
Yeah, some people call us Red Dragon until today. And then you ended up being a producer, whatever that is. And Zura, creatively, she cleans teeth, I guess.
She still sings on the side.
Oh yeah. I mean, not great, but she does.
So, dang, Zura, please, Zura, I'm sorry. I mean, Amel thinks Claire's the best singer in the world. Let's just let him have it. Okay,
so that's the thing, right? We grew up in a kind of a creative family. So I assume it's through these experiences that you picked up your passion for, I mean, I wouldn't say filmmaking to an extent, but telling stories.
Nice segue. But I think the one thing really interesting is when you grow up in a household full of children. I mean, where there's 4 of us, not very far in age, a little bit here and there, but everyone is trying to fight for the attention of your parents, right? Because there's 4 of us. So the idea is that we're all trying to carve that corner of the world to make ours, so to speak. And it so happened that we try our best to not bercanggah so much, So it's like, okay, Amil does this, I'm not going to do that. Rina does this, I'm not we ended up kind of hitting the same spot at one point. But what happens is at the end of the day, you feel like, you know, you want to find something that's yours and you want to kind of excel at it, right? So like, I wasn't going to go into, let's say, architecture or something like that. I knew I didn't have a knack for it and I'm terrified of failure. But then when it came to telling stories, do you not remember now when we were growing up, Ken? Like, films, movies, and all that was very much a part of our lives, right? We go and rent the DVD, right? Uncle Mike will come. Okay, we have an uncle that will come to our house, and then he'll come to me and say, okay, Farah, so what's the movie of the week? And then we'll basically be giving him DVDs plus reviews. And he'll come back the next week, I didn't like it, what kind of nonsense is this? I want Steven Seagal. You know what I mean?
Hey, Under Siege.
Exactly. So we grew up constantly. It was a thing in the household. And I also remember, if you think about documentaries, specifically, when we were school holidays, what were we watching on TV? I just want to sing the song, okay? Hello world,
I've been waiting.
Exactly.
Oh my god, Michelle Krusiak. I mean, now she's an actress, but prior to that, she was this travel host, right? Oh my god, what's the name of that show? Travelers. Amazing. We watched it on Mega TV.
Exactly. So there was that and Urban Peasant, and we were watching documentaries, and like factual content was kind of something we were really into. I didn't think about it at the time, but at that time something really resonated. It was this thing of you wanted to see the world, and it was different. It's not like the stuff you have now. Back then it was the first time I ever saw someone play that thing. In that Caribbean countries they have that
pan drum
or something. I remember that episode clearly, and I was like, oh my god, that's so interesting. And you couldn't go on Google and just like, oh, I want to learn more about Bahamas or whatever.
Correct that. It's a handpan.
Okay. All right, let's be pedantic, shall we? So, but it was something about that, to know that these people existed across the world from us, and I think it always intrigued us lah. So that sort of helped me sort of see this as a viable avenue, I guess, in terms of making a career. It's part of storytelling. But it was part of consumption. You know, I wanted to be part of that story as well.
So, so I like that, right? I think the fact that we grew up, you know, we watched all these shows. It kind of you know, made us who we are, and that kind of drove the storytelling agenda in your life. You know, so then as you were growing up, right? Okay, you found out that, hey, you know what? I want to tell stories too. I want to be part of the storytelling process. So you went to Lim Kok Wing, yeah?
Yes, I did. You know what built character? Can I swear on this? No, right?
No. I'm trying to monetize.
I built character. Yes, I went to that university. We'll shall bleep that out. But yes, my degree was from Kertin. Okay, we continue.
But studied in Cyberjaya.
Don't knock it. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I like to know, kan, like, did formal education like somehow or other form or, you know, build your skills or your craft and hone your craft to become the person that you are today? Is it more formal education, or was it learning on the job when you started working?
I think it's a little bit of both, yeah. Because to tell you the truth, when I was in film school, basically, the hype back then was fiction, right? Everybody wants you to be, because I was obsessed with Wes Anderson, right? Not in the way that kids are today, but I really liked Wes Anderson's work. I liked, so I also like Christopher. Doesn't matter lah. We're not here to talk about my film interests, right? But fiction was where they pushed you towards. I had one semester of documentary my entire 4 years, right? But what really helped in that environment was that you're forced to watch things that you don't usually watch. And I think the formal education aspect, you learn theory, you learn all these different things, but it wasn't enough. But I will tell you, the real turning point was when, the real turning point, I think, or the thing that you really learn in formal education is how to work with others. You learn how to defend your stories, you learn how to put up with people's lack of creativity or too much creativity, and you learn how to work with others. And so I think that's the most important thing lah. However, there's not a single thing I learned in university except for maybe Final Cut Pro, like the name, not even learning how to use it, just to learn the word Final Cut Pro, right?
No.
Outside of that, I don't really...
I want to correct something. I'm sure there's one thing.
No!
There are two words, right, that I remember. It's called German expressionism. She couldn't stop talking about the lines. The lines are everywhere. This movie's got German expressionism written all over it. I remember that lah.
Yep. Okay, that's the other thing, okay? When you go to university, for a minute that you feel like you're part of a club, an exclusive club, and you want to tell the whole world you know something. Oh, French New Wave. I swear God, I had arguments with people because they thought I was too irritating. I was going like, they would say something like, oh, Fara, have you seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall? I'm like, is it French? Because that's the only films I would watch. It was, but you have to go through that process lah. I mean, like if we were to go to when Amil was in university, I mean, engineering, what did he come up with? A sponge to wash the roof of your car. That was his final year project. So let's not talk lah.
It wasn't my final year project. It was my second year project. Okay, my final year project was measuring the output of sound in the LRT system near Kelana Jaya.
Oh, that's where you saw the woman in Telekung.
Yeah. Let's not go there. Okay, we'll have another Ghostbuster episode where we talk about Pontianaks. So what I like about this, right, is you spent. I mean, when we talk about filmmaking, storytelling, like everyone talks about, like what you said, doing a movie lah, fiction lah, right? And you said you just did one course on documentaries.
My entire 4 years.
Yeah. So what got you hooked on it? Why? To
tell you the truth, it's actually a very natural, organic process that took place. When I graduated school, I first did a short stint at Astro, right? Because I just wanted to try it out and all that stuff. Astro, I mean, it's truly a pillar of our society, I didn't quite like the experience there, to be honest. I thought I was done with TV. I thought it was no offense, but it was a bullshit industry. People were lazy. That's how I felt. People weren't creative enough. People weren't striving hard enough, whatever. Then by chance, I've always been interested in documentaries. I've always loved it. But by chance, I noticed there was an opening in this company, and I didn't know there were even documentary companies, and I joined, and I met the team that I'm still working with today. We're not in the same outfit, but it's kind of the same team. From the day I stepped into that building, I immediately knew this is what I wanted to do. It was the idea that you're not creating stories to reflect reality. You're making reality palatable to everyone. You know what I mean? When you see someone on screen, it's not someone who, oh wow, what a great actor, making me feel something. No. That person is really feeling something, and you're feeling it too. For a minute, there's a moment of oneness. You know what I mean? And that just couldn't amazing.
I mean, as a theatre actor back in the day, a thespian, that's
sorry, nobody understands this reference. But Amel had to play someone who was visually impaired, right? In a play, and for the longest time, I don't know why Amel, when he's reading, he had to read Braille, and I've seen a lot of visually impaired individuals who read Braille normally, but Amel would read it like this. I don't know why, like he's a squirrel or something. So strange. Sing the song.
I went to MAB, Malaysian Association of Blind People, I think that's what it's called, right? And that's how the guy read in front of me, and I was like, do all blind people read Braille like that? Oh, I guess so.
Didn't you also busk and then someone asked you to leave?
Yeah. Okay, I mean, just to let you know, as part of me living the experience of a blind musician, because the play I played, this guy was a blind musician. I went to Petaling Street and I busked as a blind person, and the busker who was there, who was actually blind, told me, excuse me, this is my spot, can you move away? Yeah, so key learning is you got to know the people around the area before you busk lah.
Exactly. And I don't know, but I want to say this thing. I just want to say that if you're interested in finding out more about this play, right, it was actually an adaptation. Goldie Hawn was in the original. It's called Butterflies Are Free. Yeah, go check it out. And I think if you look hard enough, you might be able to find a recording of Amil singing it.
I knew. Okay. Anyways, we this is what we call Lari topic. Right. So let's get on to it. Right. So you joined this company, right, where you believe in trying to tell not just stories, but stories that reverberate with others, trying to be authentic as well. So how did that journey ended up with you becoming a producer?
So, okay, just a bit of a background. Like in Malaysia, the documentary world isn't very formalized, right? I don't think it's very formalized anywhere, to be honest. Tapi kalau let's say in Malaysia, usually you start as a production assistant producer, then you go up to become an executive producer, right? You might be a director or anywhere in between. But when I started, I skipped the production assistant process because I came in like just raring to go, and my first job, right? Out of the gates, my first job was with Nat Geo.
Wow.
Right? So there was a time, not to like blow my own horn, but at the time I was said to be the youngest assistant producer on a Nat Geo project. I was only like 19, 20 at the time, right? And actually, this is an interesting tidbit here, because I made this film. It was called Silat, Fight Master Silat.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. So that was my first job. It was difficult. It was amazing. It also burst my documentary bubble. But a cool anecdote to this is my husband Anis actually watched that film while he was in New York before we even met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the connection was there. Oh my
my
god.
God, so
Takdir ajal.
Love blossomed in New York. New York.
Yeah, exactly. He saw it. He's like, I want to know who produced this. That's exactly what he said.
Like what anyone who watches a documentary, the first thing is, I wonder who produced this show. I tell you.
Exactly. So in the beginning stages, I was working very closely with. Right now, we're working together still with Justin, my director, and it was like from zero. Suddenly, I am inundated with things. Right. So back in the day, the Nat Geo process was. We went to pitch this story. Nat Geo wanted to do it, gave us the grant to do it, and you had like they gave you like a year basically to complete the entire project. Our project involved bringing in an American Silat practitioner to Malaysia, and he was going to do his final like rites of passage test here, right? The very traditional format. But people don't understand there's a lot that goes into it. So like, let's say for example, the script. If we were to say the sky was blue that day, we have to have 3 different sources proving that sky was blue. That was part of what producing at what we had to do. And to tell you the truth,
And that's a requirement from Nat Geo. Like there's an audit process that says if you're claiming something, I need to make sure that it's cited. There's proper evidence.
and they'll go through the citations. So there were like I'll be working through the
So
night.
it's very academic.
To some degree. I mean, if you ask my husband will be like, no. But the idea that it has this element of trying, because Nat Geo has had, I'll emphasize this, Nat Geo had this, the reason that they were seen to be so iconic was because they had this standard. I remember staying up till the wee hours of the morning, speaking to people in the US, trying to just clarify certain things, right? Because how do you explain mengasap keris? How do you explain that in a way?
Smoking the Chris.
Yeah, exactly. That means something else.
Damn.
Dang, the euphemism. But then that was kind of so coming out of that, I was an assistant producer immediately. The film finished, and I remember this point. I was very young. It was my first job, right? And the screening was happening. We screened it at GSC, and I was standing there, and then my director comes next to me, and we had just met that year, right? And he puts his arm around me, and then I told him, I said, congratulations. And he was so surprised because he's like, no, I couldn't have done it without you. Congratulations to us. And that was the first moment I realized, holy crap, it's not the director's show, right? And from that point on, I've been working with the same guy and the same team, same cameraman and all that. And I just started continuing. From Nat Geo, we went to History Channel, we've done Al Jazeera, we've done Channel News Asia, we've done Discovery, we've done BBC for a bit, we've done quite a bit, right? And it all could not have been done without a producer. Just want to say that.
Yeah, so now let's go back to it, right? Okay. So what exactly does a producer do? Let's just talk about it in the sense of, okay, overarching, what do you do? And what's like a typical 9 to 5 day in the life of a producer?
Okay, so currently my day is more like 10 to about whatever time.
Damn creative, guys.
You know how we do. But okay, so I'm not going to say this is something that works for everyone, but I'll speak from experience on my end. I am a documentary filmmaker that mostly does broadcast work. There are the artsy-fartsy starving artists, so I won't bring them into the picture. I love you guys. You guys are my favorite. Best storytellers, I tell you. But also very broke. But then the idea is that the idea here is, okay, so a producer, this is separate from fiction, from feature films and television. In a small team like mine, documentary producers tend to be creative producers. So what I mean by that is they are the ones that find the story. They find the team to pull off the story, whether it be a director, a cameraman or whatever. They get the money for it. They find the platform. If you're a creative producer, you are working with a director in terms of post, you are going on shoots, you're doing every aspect of it. And when a documentary film or film wins best film, the award goes to the producer, because the producer most times owns the film, or it has some ownership towards the film.
I think that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that the producer owns the film. Right?
I just want people to know, when you all talk about the director, maybe in the fiction world, maybe in certain spaces, director has the creative has a creative say, it's all creative there, right? So when you look at the art form, you like it, you say the person who created it, therefore I should like them. I just want you to know, director needs to be hired by someone. Who hires the director? The producer does. The director can only work within the limitations that's been set by the producer. And in the documentary world, producers and directors, the term is sometimes interchangeable, which is right now my position is I will always say, first and foremost, I am a producer. I like to add the word senior or sometimes creative, sometimes supervising producer on top of it.
Why not executive?
That's a different thing. That's a different thing. Because I don't own anything, like I'm not, I don't put money into something, I don't call myself an executive producer. However, I'm also a director. I have directed numerous films in my life, but I've also been the producer on that. And even at the end, I credit myself as a producer. I write the scripts. I credit myself as a producer. Because there is no bigger position than the producer, in my opinion. To all the producers out there, unite!
Humility is a strong point. So, actually...
I've been doing this for 16 years. There's no place for humility, I tell you.
Now, here's the thing, right? Now, this is something I honestly want to know. Like, when it comes to picking the subject matter, right? Like, go through the thought process. Like, how do you decide that, hey, man, I'm going to tell a story about ABC, XYZ? Like, what's the thought process like? How do you do it?
So it depends. Sometimes we have an issue that happened, like flooding, for example. Then we have broadcasters who are interested in telling that story. Then we'll come into play. But my favorite kind of stories, to be honest, are the ones when you meet someone, you have a conversation with someone, and suddenly you realize, holy crap, there's something there, right? For example, my favorite documentary of all time that we had made, one of them is a story about twin sisters living in the red light district.
Oh, I know this.
Yeah, Ida's Choice. That story kind of like, I'm telling you, people basically, I can't use the word shit on us. Like when we came up with the idea, in the beginning when we were pitching the story, everyone's like, oh, just another story about street kids, right? But we had met these girls. That's how we came up with the story. We met these girls. It's not a social worker story. It was a story about resilience, about the human spirit, about youth, about rebellion. It's about finding independence. And all I had to do, I remember that moment, like when we kept getting shut down and we just decided we're going to show people who these girls are.
Who shut you guys down?
We were pitching in Tokyo, we were pitching all over the place, and everyone would tell us a story. We love you guys, we think you guys are great, so much spirit, so much energy, but it's a sad story. And
so, like, do you need to prepare a pilot first and then go to these broadcasters and say,
okay,
I've got this story, so you want to fund me and I'll tell you the whole story? Or you just verbally said, hey man, I've got these twin sisters in red light district, I've got this angle for a story, would you like to invest? What's the process?
For us, there are two main ways. One way is that we can, if we feel like a story fits a broadcaster, fits a network, a contact that we have, we go, hey, listen, here's an email, check it out, here's a synopsis. If we have a short video of them or whatever, we'll send it over. Or the second one, which is the harder one, it's the one that we go cold. We go to pitches, we go to forums, we speak to as many people as possible, we prepare a trailer. But in the process, this is before we even get money, we're already filming stuff. So those are called passion projects. So those are the ones that we're shopping to get funding. Like I remember this one time, sorry, I'm just going to digress. I was making a film, it was about, I was in Aceh lah. This is a film about young girls who are in a choir. They do nasyid, Islamic choir kan? But in their village, they said that the female voice is haram. So, but they were still doing it. Yeah. So I
think I remember this.
Yeah, so it was it was a difficult story to do, but it's a very soft, sweet story. So I was filming with them, blah, 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 and I come back. I was in Korea, I was in Tokyo, I was in Jakarta trying to sell the story, right? I remember there was this one instance, I was speaking to a Korean filmmaker, and he just looked at me, he goes, I don't do pro-Islam work. Yikes. I said, well, technically it's not pro-Islam if you think about it. And he was like, no, I'm not going to support anything that has to do with Islam. And I understood his standpoint. On the other hand of things, I was trying to pitch it in certain other places, and there are people who told me this feels like it's going against Islam. I don't want a community of people getting mad at me. But in my head, I was like trying to scream at them and tell them, listen, you know, it's not a story about that. It's a story about resilience, etc., etc. Until like these words that came to my mind. Because I'm telling you, producers also have to be salesmen, right?
Yeah.
The term that I used to describe these girls, I said, it's like a Muslim sister act. That line got me funding from Tribeca, New York. So in my head, like literally, because after I said that, everyone laughed. People were more on board. They felt more comfortable because then they realized that we weren't pushing an agenda. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just digressed. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
No, so I like that, right? I mean that sales element. I think it's so important for you to be able, if you want to convey that story to potential viewers or the public, right? You need to get the buy-in of, you know, those big production houses, those big broadcasters and things like that. So being able to clearly articulate the story, the value of the story, I think that's key in the pitch.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
I think if you look at it, storytelling in general is a sales pitch. When anyone has a conversation with you, there is a point that they're trying to bring forward, right? There is a message. There's a reason I'm telling you the story. And I want you to get that. I want you to go home with that messaging. So I have to sell that to you. That's a documentary as well. People who, especially in the arty world, because I get not laughed at, but I get like sort of ridiculed a little bit. So, she's TV, you know, that's kind of what they call me. But in the other side, like my family calls me the artsy-fartsy starving artist sort. So, because I'm also broke. But then the idea is that, I'm telling you, it's not an industry to get rich lah. But then the idea is that at the end of the day, here's the thing, we're selling ourselves, we're selling our craft, and a lot of times we're selling these stories. Not to say it's a bad thing. I want you to listen to this story. If not, why am I making films? If you are one of those filmmakers that make films and say, I want to be true to my art form, great, have your 5 viewers. I'm interested in having as many people go home feeling heard, feeling like they learned something. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. But it's also something that needs to be commercially viable also lah.
Of course, what you want to eat,
No,
how you want to pay your bills.
I get it. And I mean, I'm a salesman, been doing sales for the past 15 years, you know, and you're right. It is about telling stories to be able to close the sale.
Yeah, I will tell you, one of the best storytellers I've ever met in my life, and I have met so many people, is actually you, Namil. Do you know why? Because there are times I'm telling you all, listen lah. Okay, if you ever get a chance to have a conversation with Amil, right? Halfway through, you know that he's lost the bloody plot. He doesn't know where he's going, but he goes for it, man. He is still rowing.
I will go. Yeah.
He will get there. And I'm telling you, if he wants to sell you something, he will try. But you don't feel... I almost bought his broke-ass piece of shit car. I almost bought that car.
E90 320D. All right, it's a beast. Right, the torque is amazing. Anyone wants to buy a 2011?
No.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Now, very clear that when it comes to a documentary, I mean, we don't talk about film, we talk about a documentary. The producer kinds of has full ownership of the product.
Yeah, okay, of course it depends there are different formats and all that.
So it's very clear that the producer, I mean, you've got two aspects of it. You've got the producer who tries to go and find funding, you know, gets what story needs to be told, how do I tell the story. You also have creative control as well, right? And yeah, you're involved in the hiring process of not just the director, the talents as well. And so I get it, you win an award, it goes to the producer. So now very clear on what a producer does, right? A little bit, yeah. Now, just a few misconceptions about producers. Now, Malaysia lah, as a country, you know, the quality of our films, the way we tell stories, is not always put up there, right? But on a documentary perspective, you know, based on what I've seen, and not just because she's my sister, but based on what I've seen, I think not just the quality of the production, the storytelling is there. So how do you benchmark where we are as Malaysian storytellers versus, for example, obviously we always like to point to the West lah. Where are we?
I will say I can only speak for documentaries because I'm not going to touch fiction at all, right? Because I think fiction is a whole big problem there. But in terms of documentaries, I think we don't have a space. I think that the industry is growing and our government's actually very good with providing funding, but there are limitations to these fundings as well. A lot of this funding that's been very good for us has also come with caveats. Talk about patriotism, talk about sport and all these different things. It's always like I make this joke with Anis and I, my husband and I make this joke sometimes, and it's like Malaysia is like we're still in that point where Mad Men is, you know, like we're still in that 60s 70s era where you know, because it's difficult because we're dealing with so many different sensibilities, I think. But here's the issue with the thing about storytelling in Malaysia. If you make a good doc about Malaysia, where are you going to see it? And then when this is through experience. I've had someone tell me, Fara, I love your story, but nobody cares about Malaysia.
Yikes.
You're not Indonesia. Where Indonesia, you can do so many things. You want to do a Muslim story, you talk about it's the most populous Muslim state. Anything can work. You talk about being Singapore, like no one cares there either. So lah, you know, I mean, like the thing about it is Malaysia is not exotic enough. You know, so I think the thing about Malaysians, I think right now we have to tell really authentic stories. We need to really focus on what's authentic but relatable internationally. It's not your wow. I'm telling you, it's not your wow. It's not your nasi lemak. It's not all these things. It's your people. Find something about your people. I'll tell you this. This is, I'm not even going to the West. One of my favorite, most amazing documentaries I've ever seen in my life is a Korean. It's called Love Don't Cross That Bridge or something like that. Okay, I know the filmmaker and all that, and I watched this film. It's about an elderly couple who live in the rural parts of Korea, and the husband's dying.
Ayo.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch it,
Oh,
you know,
pull heartstrings.
yeah, and the whole film, this filmmaker actually, because documentary filmmaking involves a lot of sacrifice as well. You have to be there. If you want to tell the story, it's not a matter of 2 weeks. Oh, shoot establishing Kuala Lumpur, then shoot interview macam ni. No, if you want to do it proper, in my opinion, if you want to do it proper, you sacrifice time. You go. So he was living with this couple in these like mountains or whatever, and they find out that the husband's gonna die, and he just, from a distance, just films them throughout this entire process until she is by herself throughout this entire process.
Tearjerker lah.
Yeah. Did you learn anything about Korea there? No. Did it matter that they were speaking Korean? No. Do you care about whether the food was halal? No. At that point, all you cared about was that
The story.
And that's what I think Malaysians lack. This concept where Malaysians are full of stories. Forget your subject. This is the thing. Number one, documentaries, it's not about your subject matter, it's about your story. If you're doing your whole like Beyond 2000, no one is going to be old enough to know that reference, Beyond 2000, right? But if you're doing your topical documentary about like the history of the, Tenun or something like that, fine. But if you're telling a story, a character-based story, it's not about your subject, it's about your story. Where are you taking these people? Someone once told me, if you can come up with your story in a line of emotions instead of plot points and scenes, you're successful. That's what you want to do. You want to take someone on a journey, and I think that's what Malaysia could benefit from. Thinking about filmmaking as a journey of emotions and stories.
I watched quite a few documentaries. I mean, very much sport related. I mean, the whole world watched The Last Dance, right? But Jordan, right? GOAT.
Good.
But I watched this thing called Welcome to Wrexham.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so you watch it, right? So it's a typical sports documentary. Basically, they follow this club Wrexham, which was purchased by Ryan Reynolds and Rob. Yeah, everyone always forgets Rob's last name. Ryan Reynolds' friend, we call him, right? So it's a journey of this football club, right? The trials and tribulations that it comes through. What happens when you've got this big American money, the big investors come in, the impact of that money to the town, right? We all know that it's a commercial endeavor. Everyone knows that, right? But the way the story is told, right, is the impact to the town. It's 18 episodes. And I watched episode 17, 18, right? And to watch that club not get promoted, like that final game, the drama.
Gave spoiler.
No, it's okay. Everyone knows they got promoted this year, but this documentary was last year, right? So I watched 18 episodes. The last 2 episodes got tears there coming out. So again, it's while the subject is entertaining and exciting for me, it's the way the story was told. So I buy that. It's how you tell the story.
Exactly. I would also say, to be fair, I'll give Netflix that, right? Netflix has allowed us to be documentaries have never been more accessible than they have been now, right? I would say I never watch sports documentaries because it's always it's like one of two things, right? Either a sportsman died early or
David Goliath story lah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole from rags to riches kind of thing. However, Netflix, that series, the one with all the sports scandals, right?
Oh, like Malice in the Palace and the one the referee. Yeah.
I absolutely love that because why? It showed the fact that there are fallacies in sport. It's not all about like oh, this young boy from the ghetto, he's gonna survive. No, it's like these guys are cheating people. They're real human beings, and it talks about heartbreak. It talks about abuse,
vulnerability,
mental health. I mean, loves that topic. Like, it's an important topic. But the idea is the fact that exactly it comes down to there's nothing unique today. Like when we talk about storytelling, right? All stories are kind of the same. It's just being told differently. Yeah, that's all it is.
So here's the thing, right? I mean, you've been doing documentaries for the better part of 15 years, right?
16.
Yeah, 16.
Guess how old I am? I know I don't look a day past 18.
It's 36. So So, any advice you would give, any young budding film producer who's watching this, like if they wanted to hone their craft, improve their skills, or what advice would you just give in general?
Nobody ever. I feel like I've never heard a young person say I want to be a producer. Right? They always say want to make films, etc. Here's the thing. I think that if you want to start in the world of documentaries, the first thing you gotta do is know what a documentary is. I think go and familiarize yourself with the process, familiarize yourself with that world. It's not just your pretty, beautiful pictures that you see on Netflix. It's also your Majalah 3, to be honest. Till today I watch Majalah 3.
Are they still around?
Yeah, I still watch it. And the reason being is because you have to remember these are the things that the masses are watching. If you want to be a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker specifically, you have to also remember you carry influence. Because when you say, I'll tell you this, when you say you make documentaries, there is a certain
responsibility.
Yeah. When you say something is a documentary, people take those things and they quote it. They quote it as facts. I've seen it happen in front. Exactly.
I do it.
Suddenly, as though they have some PhD in some subject. Actually, they just watch a documentary about dolphins.
You saw that thing on Netflix. I tell you. Che Guevara, the fella.
Exactly. Suddenly, you're an expert. But that's what happens. So I think that we have to take these things seriously. If you want to make documentaries, because I watch a lot of young people making documentaries on YouTube, and good for them. But a lot of it is factually inaccurate or it's too emotive. I mean, it's fine if you want to insert yourself in the piece, but consider that you're influential just simply because you're a documentary filmmaker. And finally, I think the most important thing is to realize that it is such a beautiful industry. Because I'll tell you, Amel can attest to this, right? I grew up moody, angry, really bitter, really sad, really like feeling kind of like woe is me lah, I was very much that. But I've changed that yesterday. No, but basically, the one thing that I feel like really, really changed my perspective on everything is doing documentaries. Why? We are privileged enough. This is. I'm so lucky. I feel that I go everywhere and I meet so many different people. And if someone wants to tell me like, oh my God, I'm starving, I'm like, no, you're not starving.
Yeah.
You want to say you're unloved. No, you're not unloved. The idea here is that I have seen people with so little be so happy and people with so much feel so angry, and it gives you perspective. So if you ever get the opportunity to be part of this industry, I welcome you, but at the same time I just want you to be aware that you're privileged.
You have a responsibility to tell those stories in the right way, but what I like this exactly what you mentioned just now, that it's not just about telling the story, it's about that responsibility of telling the story properly, of conveying the message and being able to really articulate right, and go through those emotions with the filmmaker. So I think very clear. I think that's nice, a nice way to close that segment, right? So on to some fun stuff lah. I mean, not to say it wasn't fun just now, but
nobody cares about the producer.
It's all about the director.
I also direct, but I don't want to push that narrative.
No, I think today is very clear what actually a producer does. I mean, honestly, like I think I've known you for the past 5 minutes or something like that. How many years? About 36. And yeah, I mean, I kind of know what a producer does, because I'm in the creative industry a little bit. But yeah, I've never.
Yeah, you were in that singer commercial, right? Amel sold sewing machines. No, fridge.
It's a sewing machine. yeah. So I was a talent, But yeah, I get it. Now I understand. It's not just about when you hear producer, the first thing you think about is, okay, this person is responsible for getting the production done, as in getting the shots done and so on and so forth. I didn't really know about the selling, the selling process of pitching ideas and things like that. Right, I knew you went for pitches, but I didn't know the kind of work that went behind those pitches, where you go cold, blind, without any products. So yeah. Now on to the fun stuff, right? These are I like. Would you choose a good director and a bad script, or a bad director and a good script?
Good director, bad script.
Why? What? Huh? Really?
Yep, 100%. You know why?
You just said the importance of telling the story.
Yeah. So if I have the bad script, okay, because in documentaries the scripts we never follow now. This one you're talking about fiction. I don't do fiction, but the logic of it is that if you have a good director, he's gonna be able to tell that story. You don't even. I'm just gonna say there are so many shows that Thundercats, for example. It's a terror. Look at the script. If you had to read the script by itself,
you're talking about the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Hey.
It
You
is
don't make fun of Lionel lah.
No, I'm telling you, there's so many okay, Avengers. I'm gonna put me on record. Okay, the entire Marvel universe, the scripts are terrible, the dialogues are terrible. But why do you watch? Director tu pandai kot, bomb sini, costume, lighting, animation, graphics. That's why. In a documentary was the same thing. We get a lot of times. Okay, so we have bread and butter projects, right? The bread and butter projects are like the boring. No, they're really, really good to future clients out there. Guys, amazing. No, but sometimes it's a little bit more message driven. And in those situations, we have a script that might be a little bit stiff, but with a good director, people watch it. Trust me, I've been there, I've done it.
Okay. So the good director wins lah.
Of course, all the time, always.
So let's just say lah. I mean, you're quite a colourful person lah. You know. Let's just say if we had to do a documentary about your life, right?
It's on Kardashians.
No.
That's our family.
I don't think I can play Rob. Maybe I can play Kim.
But you're Chloe, 100%.
You're going out with basketball stars.
You know too much about the Kardashians, bro. You know too much.
Lamar Odom, that's his name. So
broke out there, I think. Okay, continue.
So that's the question, right? If you could make a documentary about yourself, right? What would the title of that documentary be called? And more importantly, if it was a biography lah, who would play you?
Oh, it's not a documentary then. Oh, it's like got drama, dramatization kan. Oh, okay. Okay, the second part I'll get there, but the first one, the name will be called, I think I'll call the documentary Car Crash in Slow Motion. That's kan. It's not just car crash in motion tau, car crash in slow motion. You know, I mean, yeah, I think my whole life has been made up by little car crashes. When I say car crashes, right, it's those moments that you think that you're not going to make it. You know, those moments where you feel like, oh shit, this is the end, I'm a loser, that this is it. But then I build from it, you know, from like, a lot of things have happened in my life, from the passing of my father, from terrible breakups, from being in abusive situations. Let's not get into that. But these sort of moments have built me to become the person I am. So that's why Car Crash in Slow Motion. But in terms of who would play me in those dramatizations, does it have to be someone who is currently alive? Okay, because this is obviously hypothetical.
Yeah, who's gonna make a documentary about Aminda Faradilla? But yeah, who
Okay,
would it
because
be?
if that was the case, if I had to, it would be Ella circa 96.
Not standing in the eyes of the world.
Oh no, this is before Insan Bercinta and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yes. So I think Ella and I, we have like, girl, if you ever, by chance, come and watch this documentary, this podcast and be part of the 4 listeners, girl,
5.
hit me up. But yeah, maybe Ella lah.
Alright, Ratu Rock. I was thinking more like Cher, but okay, I got it.
Yes, or Andy Lala. We got the same mustache.
Andy Lala's daughter is that one, right?
Sheila Hamzah.
Sheila Hamzah, that's right. So let's just say, right?
If you had to do a documentary about yourself, what would you name it?
Huh?
Where would you start? If you had to do a documentary about yourself, what would you name it?
Ooh, burger double cheese special. That's what I call burger double cheese special, right?
Oh my god, that's genius!
And you know who would play me?
Kai.
Pekin Ibrahim.
Okay, so there's this thing, right? Someone had said that Amir looks exactly like Pekin, I don't know, is it Pekin Ibrahim? So if you're out there, brother, I'm just gonna say, you guys can do a twin movie.
You can be my stunt double, you know. But then again, I'm bigger than you. So yeah.
Alah kesiannya.
Alright, so in the 16 years you've been doing documentaries, right? Like, what's the weirdest thing that has happened to you? The weirdest.
Weirdest. I mean, there are a lot of things that I've done that I feel like now looking back it's a bit stupid lah. Like I put my hands in boiling hot oil to prove a point. I don't know. Like,
was I there?
No, it was like a silat thing, and then I put my hands in boiling hot oil. I walked on a bit of coals. Don't know why.
Now this is my favorite question. I'll ask this every single one, right? What's your 3 most favorite things to eat, right? And where can we get them?
My husband's here.
It's a family show, guys. It's a family show. Okay, go.
Okay, the 3 one. Let's do one in KL. Lai Fong, Lala Noodles
Ooh.
in Petaling Street.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
very good.
yeah,
My
yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
Second one is nasi dalcha.
Penang lah.
Where's nasi dalcha? Right, there's nasi dalcha. There's one place. It's not the other place. And you know how Penangites are, isn't it? You cannot go on a Sunday. The Sunday the son cooks. You must go on a Tuesday where the father is cooking. Dalcha Rahim, Dalcha Rahim in Little India. You'll find it there. Okay. That is very good. Better than nasi ganda. I know Indian Penangites will kill me for that, but it's true.
I'm going to say one thing, right? Nasi dalcha. I know the Penang fella is here, but nasi dalcha Pelita's nasi dalcha, legit Pelita, the Pelita at Butterworth, not the one in Ireland.
Yeah, you mentioned this the other
His
day.
nasi dalcha is TDF, to die for. Really,
I
it's,
like that. I
it's
like
so
that.
good.
That
It's
should
so
be a
good.
hashtag. Really, we'll try it. Like, we mean because we don't go to Seberang.
Oh, sorry, Islanders. Oh, sorry, Islanders. Oh, okay.
Kan?
Okay, Islander.
The third thing, if I had to pick, the third thing tadi was the what else do I like to eat?
I know what's the third thing.
What?
Mama's mutton chops.
100%.
Yeah.
If you-
I'm going to learn how to cook those
Yeah.
mutton chops as well.
I tried. It's too much ghee. I just want to say that if, these are places that should be accessible to other people, right? But I think my mother will be very accessible to you. You just have to let us know, and my mother will cook for you. Thank you very much. It'll be about 35 ringgit per mutton. It's very good.
35 ringgit one piece.
One bowl lah.
Ah,
And
okay lah,
Amil's
okay,
one
okay.
is a boiled one, and
Yeah,
you can
no
have
ghee,
a
no
boiled
ghee.
one. Healthy living.
$30. Discount $5 for ghee. So right, in closing, Farah, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to do a shout out? You want to promote your company, or you want to say something about the documentary producer sisterhood, brotherhood? Anything you want to put out there?
Yeah. I mean, the viewership is great here, right? So the idea that I should really push that narrative. But here's the thing. I just think that when we look at documentaries, or we look at stories, and we consume these things, I think we should all be kinder to each other. We're not on social media so much, so we don't really see the hate, but I think there's a lot of judgment people place. But I think that if you take the time, really just enjoy what you're watching. And here's the thing, right? I think, sorry, I'm just going to you can edit how you want, right? But the point of the matter is this, right? Right now, everybody wants this sort of instant gratification. You want your 10-second videos that tells you everything. You want everything to be quick, easy, no ads, nothing. But just know that with every one of these videos, whether it's an online video or whether it's a film you're watching in the cinema, there's a bit of heart and there's a bit of soul that goes into those things, whether it be the characters or whether it be the filmmakers. So take your time, enjoy stuff. Don't waste your time trying to get too much too quickly. At the end of the day, you don't remember anything, right? Because I think if you were to ask people what stories really resonate with them, it's going to be those stories that took time, that unraveled itself slowly.
No, exactly. Like all you short form content creators, but it's true though. Like when you talk about it, right? What do we remember? Like if anyone shares like a TikTok video or whatever, right? You don't remember what are the things that they shared. But if someone shared like a proper documentary, for example, like the Silat one, dude, I remembered it. I remembered that, that American guy going through the journey. I remembered it. That was your first documentary, right? Yeah, so tell stories that are worth telling, that's memorable, right? And more importantly, bring your viewer through that emotional journey. I think,
Yeah, and I think as a viewer, you should allow yourself to be brought. I mean, I'm guilty of this as well. I could be watching something on TV, but I'm also on my phone. And no, dude, there's
So I can't do that.
that's good. That's good.
Like if I watch, right, I'm locked in,
Yeah, and that's good. And I think that's the way you should be. Remember, it's a craft. It's there are things that if you watch and you really watch, like some documentaries, if you take the time to see how they set something up, you just
like Love is Blind. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? There's this conversation that I had when I was in school, right? Are reality shows considered documentaries?
I would think so. I mean, I personally would think so. Like, how I define that is I'm invested, and the way I'm invested is not like watching an episode of Friends or with like reality shows. Like I'm honestly able to binge. I'm invested in the characters, and it's so weird. It feels like a documentary to me.
Yeah, I mean, what is a documentary, right? It's a story rooted in truth, right? So unless it's super scripted, like Jersey Shore or something like that, I don't know. But then if it's like Love is Blind, for example, I don't know. Okay, I'm telling you, I've never seen an episode. But these are real people experiencing real feelings, going through an experiment, and you're going through it with them. Why is that not a documentary? People want to be all highbrow and say it's not. I think it is, and it's okay.
All right.
That's it. Oh my god, we talked too much. Oh my god.
I'm looking forward for that documentary burger daging double special. Farah, I think she would be the executive
Or we
producer.
can call it the C cup. Oh, cannot. I was going.
You mean my A cups? All right, guys. All right. So that's all the time we have. So Farah, thank you for being here. One of the early episodes that we have. So guys, if you have an interesting story that you want to tell, you can just hit me up on my socials. Find the real podcast at gmail.com. And let's catch you in the next episode. Peace.
You don't even have a domain name.
Saw or not? You wait lah. You wait. Next episode.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right? If ever this could be an outtake, but you guys need to do a tour of the setup. I think all 10 seconds of it, but then you should do lah. Best room.
One of the episodes we'll be doing is with Brandon. Okay, the guy who built this studio in 6 months. So watch out for that.
You should definitely cut and do a tour when you do his episode. Okay,
All right, ciao.